Exhibitions is the owner. Now we also have in attendance with us Susan Hurley, who's been the general manager of the show for years and years. She's staying on with Emerald. And I just to kind of, not to be a spoiler or anything, but we had a meeting with some of the board members of the various groups from around the Midwest and elsewhere before this, and I wasn't really that pumped for the meeting. I mean, I was interested, but I didn't think it would be that exciting. However, I think that there are some pretty cool things. I'm encouraged about what might be happening as the show goes forward. So October 25th through the 27th, right? Mm-hmm. There it is. Didn't even have to cheat. So what we decided we would do is because Karalynn decided to join us, thank you Marty for lobbying for that. She's going to have a little presentation, PowerPoint, and we'll get that. And depending on how much time we've got, this will result in a Q&A. As Karalynn said at the meeting earlier today, she and Susan are here to listen as well as to inform. So at that point in the conversation, they're definitely taking our suggestions on what we want to see as the industry. So that was very encouraging to hear. And before I pass the microphone over to you, Karalynn, I'll just warn you that as a veteran myself of running these things before the social, the free alcohol starts flowing at 5. So if we go too long, we're going to be talking to an empty room as time progresses, like 2 minutes to 5.
Totally understood. Totally understood.
So NCFA, please welcome Karalynn.
Thank you so much. I especially do want to thank Marty because he's been really instrumental since the acquisition in connecting with us and really kind of sharing some of the comments from the various associations, and so we appreciate that, and I'm very happy to be here. Actually, I travel all over the world pretty frequently, and I speak all over the world, and this is the first time I've been to Ohio, so I'm very excited to be here. And I have a lot of friends from here, and I truly am excited. I spent all day yesterday in Toledo working on another acquisition opportunity. So if that goes through, then we'll have 3 offices in Ohio. So pretty excited about that. And I do understand there could be a little bit more excitement next time. So next time I'll be sure there's alcohol in our session, right? Because if we're here to drink, then you don't want to hear me talk for an hour, for goodness sake. So I'm all for that. So I didn't plan in advance this time. So anyways, so we'll just go through. I have a kind of a long, boring presentation, and I know a lot of you probably don't know who Emerald Expositions is. Everybody in the room is very, very familiar with the fastener event that we do in Las Vegas. I myself just attended for the first time this last October, and it was really kind of exciting to visit a different industry. Most of the industries that we serve at Emerald are business to business, but primarily in the retail sector, and I'll go through some of the other sectors that we work on. But I did notice right away that networking was really important to you guys. So we're going to help continue to improve that experience for you. So we'll just kind of go through Emerald and then talk a little bit about what we're doing with the show this year. I'll introduce you to the team virtually, and then if we have time, we'll have room for some questions. Okay, sound good?
Yep.
All right, so I know you can't read this, and I'm not going to bore you with all these details, but as I said, I talk all over the world, and pretty much most of the people don't know who Emerald Expositions are. We're actually a new company. We've been around about 2.5 years, and you can see though, we started in 1985 as United News Media, and that was acquired by Miller Freeman. So if any of you are in publishing or have been in the trade show industry at all, you might know those names, otherwise you would not. So through all of these years, we have been acquired, we've acquired other companies, and with that, I came to the company in 2013 after the acquisition of from Nielsen, which you might know. It's a 30,000, actually a 45,000 employee company now, and we were just a tiny little ATM for them. The trade show part of their business, not really what they do, and so they decided to sell us to private equity, and we were purchased by Onyx in 2013. And that team recruited me, and I'm very pleased to be here. And in 2015, we acquired GLM, and with that acquisition, we became the U.S.'s largest trade show producer. As you know, Eric mentioned, we did buy, and we continue to acquire other events, and we bought the Fastener event, and that was announced just after the last show in October. So who we are. I said we're the largest B2B producer. We do have a few consumer B2C events, but primarily we really focus on business to business. We really, when we look at shows like the Fastener Show for acquisition, we really want to be number one or very close to number one in the markets that we serve. And I can tell you, I was just telling the group earlier, I was in China last week, and just visited 3 cities on this trip, that in every single province that I was in, I had people almost virtually begging our team to be able to recruit for the Fastener Show in Las Vegas. That is how well perceived this particular event is, not just nationally, but internationally. So it's really nice for us to see that. Having long-standing trade shows with important reputations in the communities they serve is critical to us. Some of the questions that have come up, and I'm happy to address those again, is why the show doesn't move from other locations. I know it used to be in Columbus, and some of the other shows, particularly association shows, move from city to city. And we really work on the relationships with the vendors in the major cities that we serve. And Las Vegas is the capital of the trade show industry in America. And we are very proud to say that we're Las Vegas's biggest customer. We currently hold 17 events in Las Vegas. So it's critical for the purpose of us getting more from the vendors. And as you all know, because you deal with the vendors that we deal with, that having those relationships really make a difference as far as how far we can stretch that our life. Clearly, having the financial resources behind us with Onyx is very important. And some people get nervous when you hear the term private equity. I've worked for several private equity companies, and by far, this is the best company I've ever worked for. And they're true partners, so they really understand. I'll give you an example. I happen to also run Emerald's largest event. And coming into the business, it had been, it didn't have a strong brand reputation with the clients, and it had not been invested in appropriately. So I really did some analysis and showed Onyx on a 5-year historical what happened with the attendance, with the exhibitors. So we were really able to maintain revenue through pricing strategy, and you all know what that means, rate increases, but have really lost key customers over a period of time. So Emerald and Onyx in particular really looked at the information that I was able to provide and invested another $1.2 million into just that one business to help grow the show. And last year, I'm proud to say that particular event, which has 45,000 attendees, it's slightly bigger than the Fastener Show, grew attendance by 14%. So I'm giving you this example so you understand what our company does when we go in an event. We really know for the long run, we've got to build the show and invest in the beginning to have long-term success. So I talked a little bit about some of the markets we serve. You'll see it on the list here. I don't need to go through all of them, but the sort of the major shows are, like I said, in the retail space. So general merchandise, gift, home furnishings. We have several jewelry shows, and photography, sports, international sourcing, and now manufacturing. So as I mentioned, we're the largest producer in the U.S. We are currently at 85 events that bring together more than 500,000 exhibitors and attendees across 6.6 million net square feet of exhibit space. As Eric mentioned, my office is in Los Angeles, California. It's not glamorous. It's in the heart of Hollywood. There's a lot of homeless people there, but there are great restaurants and entertainment. And our corporate office is in the beautiful San Juan Capistrano. If you've never been, I highly recommend it. And then we, as you can see, I mentioned earlier, we do have a couple of offices here in Ohio, a couple of major offices in New York, Chicago, Louisville, Alpharetta, and Naples, Florida, and continuing to expand. So how does this look? Right now, because your industry is quite different from retail, you may or may not recognize some of our larger shows. We have 30 shows in the top 250 shows in the U.S. And you always say, you know, there's a fastener for everything, right? Unless it's made by God. There's a trade show for everything. So being in the top 30 is pretty important considering how many there are, and we have 11 of those in the top 100. And these logos here just kind of show you how we stack up to our competitors in the U.S. So Emerald Expositions, UBM, Reed, and Informa are some of the other larger trade show operators in the U.S. How we stand globally. Now this chart is actually from 2014, and this is in euros. So in 2014, Emerald was at about 225 million euros, and that number will increase to a little over 400 million euros in 2016 with the acquisitions that we've done. So that'll move us up into around the top 5, top 6 trade show producers in the world. Leading markets that we serve. These are some logos. This kind of helps when we're doing corporate presentations and acquisitions or talking to clients who don't know who we are. A lot of them recognize some of our bigger events like New York Now or Outdoor Retailer or Interbike Show. Again, we do also have some publications which are listed in particularly in the photography space, healthcare, and home. And one of our other exciting acquisitions this year was the pizza show. And if you've never been, I highly recommend it. And don't eat lunch, go to the pizza show. It's also in Las Vegas. It's about the same size as the Fastener show. It's a lot of fun. So the two new industries for us are manufacturing and food. Again, as I mentioned earlier, what's also of importance to us is longevity. And you'll see New York Now, I mentioned earlier, has been a trade show that's been around for 100 plus, 80 plus years. The JA shows, which is jewelry, is 100. And then ASD Market Week, which is our largest event, has been around over 50 years. So you can really feel assured that when you're doing business with our company that we're really keen on working with other companies that have longevity and that are in it for the long haul. It's critical for our attendees and our industry relationships. So let's talk about what you guys know about the National Industrial Fastener Mill Supply Expo. It's such a big name. We're actually thinking about changing it. So in some of the cases when we change our brand, we spend a lot of time and effort thinking about it and surveying and doing focus groups, but also contests. So I'm very open. If anybody has ideas or suggestions about the brand, we never want to go in and change things immediately. We really like to do our homework and research. And this was something our VP of marketing that works for me really wanted to just immediately change it. You know, she didn't like the logo, and I said, hold on. You know, Susan knows, you know, Camille likes to work very swiftly, but we'd rather hear from our customers. So if that's something that you're interested in discussing with us, please let us know. The show's been around since 1981. It's, as you know, moved from Ohio to Las Vegas about 9 years ago. Is that right, Susan? Been about 9 years?
1997 it started in Vegas.
Okay, so
19 years ago.
All right, so I can't do the math that fast. I can't even remember how old my daughter is. She's really upset with me about that this week. Anyway, so the last event, the show itself was established in 1981. How many of you have been coming since 1981? A few of you, several actually. How many of you have been coming since the show was in Ohio? Even more? All right. Who likes Ohio better than Vegas? There's a few of you. All right, good to know. I like to take a few little off-the-cuff surveys. So the last show was just under 83,000 square feet, and Susan was really proud to announce this week that she surpassed that number so far with 5 months left of selling cycle. So we're pretty excited about that. We gave her a fairly aggressive goal, and I think she'll fly right over that number. So she was at 600 exhibitors last event, and that number will soar over 700 for this event, and 2,000 attendees. And as you know, it's the largest fastener show in the U.S., and we plan for it to continue to grow in both attendance and exhibit space. 88% of the attendees are U.S. based, and 80% of the exhibitors say it's a must-attend event, which is important to us. And with the survey this year, the statistics showed us that the average buyer spends about a little under $2 million after attending the show. So the way we ask the question is, and I was mentioning this earlier, and I noticed there's a lot of networking going on in the aisles, but I didn't see a lot of order writing in the booths. And so we asked the question in a specific way, whether it's at the show or because of you attending the show, what instigated your decision making, and then this is the number that we came up with. So that's pretty significant. That's much larger for the size of this show, much larger than some of the other industries that we work with. We're also launching Source Global at the Fastener Show. It's our first sourcing event this October, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. So what's next and what's new? This is what everybody wants to know. What's Emerald going to do different? So our first order of business is to not make too many changes immediately. Again, sort of surveying the show, surveying our attendees and exhibitors, and kind of building an advocate group and learning from our clients what they really feel is important for the future of the show. Right now, we're, as mentioned, we're expecting exhibitor growth. We are projecting about 10% attendee growth for this first event. And most of that is coming through extensive marketing programs that just weren't in place before. This simply didn't have the manpower. And we are launching a Bring Your Own. It should be a Bring Your Own Bottle program with this group, but it's Bring Your Own Buyer, and that is something that Susan is going to be heading up, and she will be determining the criteria. But basically, what we want to do, what we've learned is, and we all know this in every industry, there's less distributors in the U.S. And these are our key attendees. So if we've got really key companies that maybe they're just sending their owner or one VP or head decision maker, we really want them to send a buying team if they can, the people that you work with day to day that are really making those purchase order decisions. So we're going to let you nominate those people as an exhibitor, and we're going to give you credit for them attending. So what that means is you'll give Susan your list of key buyers that either come now and only bring one person, and you really want to see 2 or 3 people from that business, or it's somebody that, say, you used to see in Columbus that just doesn't make it out to Vegas every year. Maybe they'll only come once every 2 or 3 years, and you really need to see them at every show. So we'll take a look at that, and she'll determine if it's fit, and we will pay for their hotel rooms, and in some cases even air flights. So definitely want to work and partner with you on making that happen as instantaneously as possible. So please feel free to ask either one of us questions about that later. We'll also be hosting buyers through our attendee team. They'll be calling and offering hosted programs both internationally and domestically. We are really working on growing the machinery and tooling category. We feel it's important to have a more diverse product mix on the show floor, so that's the first order of business, really focusing also on specialty tools, hand tools, power tools, and so forth. And again, welcome to more feedback in those arenas. If there's things that, categories that you see missing or that we don't have enough of on the show floor. Susan's added a business service area, so this is for non-fastener companies or tool or machinery companies, but they're really providing services to the industry. And then I noticed when I walked the show, there wasn't any place for buyers to sit. So Susan and I talked about it, and we decided it was really important to at least have one buyer's lounge on the show floor. So we've added that, and then we're adding global matchmaking services, and I can get into a lot of detail on what that means, but particularly educating both attendees and our international exhibitors on how they can work with our attendees, because a lot of attendees that buy domestically don't understand all of the logistics that go into buying from an Asian company. So we need to make sure that we educate them so that they really understand that it's not a cheaper price point at the end of the day if they don't know or haven't done business internationally in the past. So we're providing special services for those people, and as I mentioned, we'll be separating them into a different area on the show floor. We've also added some sort of 15 to 30 minute seminar sessions on the show floor, sort of town hall on the show floor, so that some people that can't go sit in a meeting room for an hour or two can go on the show floor briefly. It helps keep buyers on the show floor, and that's always our main goal, is to keep them there as long as possible. Somebody asked me today, I think, what was our biggest complaint in the post-show survey? And believe it or not, it was about the happy hour. That was our #1 complaint. It wasn't long enough. So this leads me to believe that our group likes to drink. I don't know why, but we are definitely extending that, and we're going to provide, again, back to what I said previously, Emerald has a lot of relationships in Vegas, so I'm very open. We can extend, we like to do things on the show floor typically to keep buyers there, right? But people seem to like the party at the pool. We're going to do it again. We can extend the cocktail hour. We can talk about putting together VIP dinners. We can talk about putting together parties, late night parties after everybody goes to dinner. If you want a place where everybody can congregate, again, we're open to that, and we have relationships to do more things at I think a lower price point than what you were used to. So we're excited about that. And then, as you may have seen the press release that came out this last week, we announced the Hall of Fame winner, and we also added the Young Fastener Professional Award. And we really did this because we've discovered in this industry, along with many that we serve, that there's a lot of people that have been in this industry for many years. It's been in their family, and the younger generation may or may not, in many cases, doesn't want to be in that family business anymore. So we really want to incorporate both the young with the mentoring program with this young professionals group, so that we're making sure we're keeping an eye on really doing what we can through education, promotion, mentoring to educate and make sure the next generation is taking care of us, right? This is a little bit of what the attendee profile looks like in case you have questions about that. So Distributor Fasteners makes up more than half of our attendee base, and I know that's important to you. It's 55%. So Independent Sales Reps is about 9%, and Suppliers is our second largest at 24%. And where are they coming from? This was interesting for me to see because the show was in Ohio, so you can see, you know, and it sort of acclimates a little bit of the industries that you serve, but nearly 50% are coming from the middle states, as you can see here, and only 22% from California. And somebody mentioned to me earlier that we're not getting a lot from the aerospace and automotive industry, so that's something that we are definitely diving into deeper. So not a lot from the east and west as much as the middle, but California is our #1 state attending, and Illinois #2. International attendance right now, the top attending countries, no surprise, Canada #1. Usually most shows in the U.S. is Canada 1, Mexico 2, just because of the vicinity. But Taiwan is #2 for us, and Mexico comes in at #3. So that gives you an idea of where our international attendance is coming from. And I would also really like to hear from you if you do business internationally, what countries that you want us to focus on, because I understand some of you do business mostly domestically, but I know others do business in other countries, and that's where we found a lot of success in some of our other sectors because of the shrinking buyer base in the U.S., that we really go after the international buyer base to complement our domestic attendance. Why attend? This is important for you to know if you're an exhibitor, and if you're an attendee, you already know why you're coming, but 77% of our attendees say it's a must-attend event, and the main reason, again, is coming is building relationships, networking. It could say drinking in there, it doesn't, but networking and drinking go hand in hand. And then, of course, seeing existing suppliers. So typically, it's number one is to see new products almost across the board at most of our events, but so it's different in this industry, which is interesting. And usually number two is seeing new suppliers, so new suppliers, new products. In this event, it's networking, it's seeing existing suppliers, and then it's finding new suppliers. So I found this interesting. And again, like I said, if anybody wants any of this information, I'm happy to share it. And then the product categories, no surprise, 90% of the show is fasteners, and then second is industrial. So metrics, construction, fastener machinery and tooling, aerospace falls down in the 20s, and then down from there. So this gives us an idea of where we're strong and where we need to grow, and that's why we asked the question. And then the distributor subcategory. Industrial falls at 53%, construction is 14%, production 9%, BMI 6%, aerospace 6%, and then it really falls off after that. MRO at 4%, electronics at 3%, and auto aftermarket at 3%. Any questions? I'm almost done. So what does our exhibitor profile look like? More than 50% of our suppliers are manufacturers of fastener. Manufacturers of other product increased by 39% from 2014. So again, we are growing in other categories, but fastener definitely maintains core position. And 80%, or just a tad bit higher on the attendee side, say it's a must-attend event. So that makes us feel that the event continues to be very strong. What are we doing different? Again, show marketing and promotions. We have a full-time marketing director dedicated to this event now, and she came up with, it's about your show, is basically her marketing theme. So in this example, it's going to highlight different people, whether it's an attendee or an exhibitor or an association that interacts and participates in our events, will be highlighted in the marketing campaign, and they'll talk about why is the show important to them. And we found just through our years of experience, people like to read about other people. They like to hear other people's stories. It makes it more personal. So open again if people have ideas or suggestions in regards to participating in the campaign. So what we're doing now, emails, which you're used to getting. We're also adding a lot more direct mail, telemarketing campaigns, publications, both digital and print media, as well as social media, and we discussed the hosted buyer program, and I'm sure many of you will want to participate in helping us bring that to the table. So we talked about the programs, and in this case you'll see a lovely picture of Susan, who is your contact if you want to nominate a buyer. So I hope each and every one of you do that for us, because we want to grow this show with you. We talked a little bit about the importance of the welcome reception, so it's our pleasure to say thank you and extend the hours of that, so we'll be doing that again. Again, offering a very comprehensive program, and Susan has most of that wrapped up already, so if you have questions about the seminar and education contact, she's here and happy to give you more insight on that. And as mentioned earlier, the Hall of Fame, we're actually going to be doing that on the show floor this year, so more people can participate and honor the recipients and we discussed the young professionals. So just want to touch quickly on the sourcing aspect of the show. We have a brand at Emerald called Source Direct, and that brand is particularly related to contract manufacturers for the most part. And where that brand typically sits is co-located next to a domestic or branded event. And sometimes with a wall separating it between the two shows, but we really, we took a look at the show and realized it was difficult to understand why there were so many international companies dispersed with the domestics, and we heard some feedback from Susan and some of the attendees and exhibitors that it was difficult to navigate the show for. So we decided to launch Source Global. We're not using the Source Direct brand because every exhibitor basically at Fastener is a manufacturer, a direct contract manufacturer. So we changed the brand slightly to Source Global, and that will be separated. Some of the countries that you'll see participating, primarily this show, it's Taiwan and China. We didn't force everybody this time because we came in mid-cycle, so we try to not strong arm people too much, but it's been very well received, and I think both the exhibitors and the attendees will prefer this method, and we'll continue to make sure that we don't change the chemistry of the show. As I mentioned earlier, I was in China last week, and my team was at the Taiwan Fastener Show, and we have a lot of interest in bringing in a lot more of those international companies, but we really do understand that we want to keep the complexity of the show as equally domestic as it is international. So we're kind of keeping them at bay right now. But in the future, we could even, in fact, based on what venue we're at, we can separate the two. So it's almost like a co-location, two shows going on at the same time, but for two different audiences. And I just want to, I know this is hard to read, but I think everybody's always so interested in what the show floor looks like. So I asked Susan to give us a snapshot of the floor this time, so you could kind of see visually what we're doing. So you'll see the Source Global area in the red, and that they're all sort of situated together, and they'll have their own branding and their own marketing. There'll be matchmaking for those folks that want to do business with the international companies. You'll see the sessions we discussed in the middle of the show floor. The machinery and tool area, that's changed from the last time as well. The associations, we call it Association Row. That's where it is for now. And then the concessions, and then the new buyer's lounge on the show floor. So that's kind of where we're at today. I think that's probably it. These are some of the partners that we're proud to have continuing to partner with us at the show, and hope to bring in more, both domestically and internationally, to help with our marketing programs. Lots of them in this industry, more than most. And then here's the team. So you were used to having just Susan, who wore 20 or 30 hats. She now is primarily responsible for driving sales and attendance. She does not have to deal with the decorator, which is Freeman, or logistics. We have a whole team in San Juan Capistrano that takes care of all of the operational and registration and all of those things. So Stephen Stagliano is one of our international development managers. He will be handling both domestic and international sales for Fastener. Joseph Wu is a new hire. He's Korean American, and he actually comes from a Fastener background. Morgan Wilson is consulting for us now. We hope to bring him on full-time next year. He worked for Exact Enterprises, a Fastener company, for about 13 years. And so we're wooing him right now. And then my daughter Brittany has been helping a little bit with sales and customer service. And then we have an international sales team that works on the Source Direct and manufacturing brand. And David Pennis heads up that group as the sales director. Winnie is our, she specializes in Asia. She's from Guangzhou, and she worked with me at my former company, and she's amazing. She works with all of our mostly Chinese and Taiwanese companies. And then Linvu is our marketing director. And we have a graphic designer, Annie, and Dean Shekvala also is our show coordinator. So and then on the executive team, of course, is myself. I'm one of 4 EVPs at Emerald Expositions. There's 4 of us that kind of divide the various shows amongst us. And there's myself in LA, there's one in San Juan, Daryl Denny, Chris McCabe in New York, and Joe Randall in Atlanta. So when you really want to complain, any of the 4 of us will take the heat anytime. It's always open. And then Camille Candela is VP of Marketing for all of the brands that I represent. So we went from 1 to, how many is that, Susan? At least 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12 people to help you at any given time. Pretty much this team, because they work with both domestic and international, is working 24 hours a day. So that's the team. I hope you'll get to meet most of them. Some of them will be traveling internationally during the October show, but for the most part they'll be in Vegas to assist you and any other time. So that's it.
Thanks, Karalynn.
Sure.
Boy, I don't know if Emerald's my kind of place if you make your people work 24 hours a day. Although
They do.
maybe you meant somebody was on call 24 hours.
There is. Well, they all work different time schedules.
We've got about 16 minutes to Q&A. I'd like to start by asking something that followed on, and it didn't get covered in your presentation because you did cover so much. This year is the final year that the show is going to be at the Sands. 17, we're going to be at the Las Vegas Convention Center, so that'll be a whole new experience in a lot of ways.
Yes.
How long are we committed to that, and can you just speak on that topic generally and quickly?
I would love to. I'm going to stand because I've been sitting for 2 days. So we, when we acquired the show, they were committed to the Las Vegas Convention Center, which is fine. It is the major convention center in Las Vegas. I know some of you have concerns about the vicinity as far as where it is to the Strip. So right now we're committed just for 2017. We are looking at other venues in Las Vegas. As I mentioned earlier, we have very strong relationships with Las Vegas, and it's all about show dates, right? So I was asking the group earlier that we met with about the date, because when we're looking to change venues, sometimes they're not available, the dates that are important to our customers. But October seems to be a sweet spot, and I'm open if any. That was only one group that I spoke to. That's the first time I've asked a question about the dates. We look at co-location opportunities for like categories. One that I am looking at right now is co-locating with SEMA. Now, don't write this down because we're just looking. It's something that I would hope for, because then that means that there might be like-minded attendees that could attend both events, and that helps all of us, right? So, and their dates are close, so that's good. But they're at the convention center, so we would be in town, but we would be either back at the Sands or at the Mandalay Bay. But I'd love whenever I can find those types of synergies. And I know other people have asked about moving, and I think I sort of addressed that you don't really become a national show until you're in one location. And Vegas, for us, in our experience, is the easiest to get to, both for our domestic companies and our international companies. A lot of internationals love New York, but it's really expensive, not only to exhibit, but to stay there and to get around, you know. We have a lot of shows we do in New York, but Vegas is so much more cost effective. So my opinion, you know, we can also look at Orlando, we can come back. I mean, the show's small enough right now, there's a lot of places we could go, but where we have our key relationships are in the big trade show cities, and my opinion is Vegas is the best as far as affordability, flexibility, our relationships, and what we can get for you, for ROI as well as for ourselves.
Thanks.
Sure.
Anybody else will open the floor? Sir?
Yeah, what about a official hotel for the event, transportation to and from?
So we typically have, I know this show only has 3 hotels that we're working with right now. We'll have many more than that going into the 2017 event. I can suggest, right now off the top of my head, I would tell you, everybody has a preference. Some people at the LBCC really love exhibitors, particularly like staying at the Renaissance, because it's right next. You can walk to the convention center or to the Westgate, because for the same reason, both hotels you can walk to and from the convention center if you're bringing in a lot of staff and you don't want to have taxi fees and all of those types of things. So those are the two most accessible. The Westgate is huge and it has lots of bars and entertainment. It did go downhill for several years. When it was a Hilton property, it has been acquired and they have done a lot of renovation. My marketing team was just out there looking at some of their suites. We can set up rooms for networking and partying and all kinds of things with them. I personally stay at the SLS. When I have a convention show, my CEO hates that hotel, I'll be honest. Their customer service isn't spectacular, but it's new, it's hip, and it's off the monorail. So that, for me, that's it. I don't have to ever stand in taxi line. I drive sometimes to Vegas because it's so close, and I'll tell you a couple shows I drove the first day on opening day. I could have walked there in 10 minutes from the SLS. It took me 30 minutes just because of the traffic to get into the convention center.
What is it, SLS?
SLS, yeah.
That's the name of the hotel?
It is, and it's a Starwood property right now, and it was a Hilton property. It's Starwood, so if you're a Starwood member, if you look on Starwood, you'll find it, and they are building a W tower, which is somehow going to be separate.
All right, well, SLS doesn't know hip until the fastener industry's
Yeah,
gotten there.
I'm
That's all I
telling
gotta
you,
say. So we got 17, sir.
It's just that monorail access is key to the convention
Sounds like
center.
it.
Before I get to my question, I just want to say kudos on putting the 30-minute things together for the show and even having the Hall of Fame there, because before I think they used to have it before the social and it was just like a private thing only, but now that you're making it more public, I think that's a great idea. And also the global sourcing, I love that idea. But my main question, ever since I've been handling the show and stuff like that, I swear I've gotten more phone calls about hotels and all this other stuff and all these deals and non-deals and great ideas than I did the first 5 years I was handling it. Is there a way to opt out of something like that?
We get companies all the time for many of our events, and they'll send an email that looks like it's coming from show management. So anytime that you get a call or an email like that, send it to Susan, because we definitely want to take a look at it. And we try to police it as much as we can. The only way you really can is at the bottom of the email, say unsubscribe. But I will tell you another thing that we've changed is that we are not giving away our attendee list. We don't do it. I mean, we acquire companies for their attendee list. It's our largest asset, so we do not give it away.
On the subject of giving things away, and before we wrap up, because I know you're going to head out of here like, I don't know, it's going to be chaos as soon as the free liquor starts flowing. Emerald was kind enough to donate a travel voucher to the event today. And during the raffle today, that will be among the prizes. So thanks, Emerald, for that. Showing some class right out of the gate. That's cool. Any other questions? Sir.
So how are you going to, so we could be at different locations the next 2 years. As someone who shows there's a pecking order in which when you get to choose which booth you want to have,
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to change, or can you go into how that you're going to be doing that?
Well, we don't plan to change that at all. We actually really like the way that Susan handles the floor planning process. It takes a tremendous amount of time for some of the teams that do it manually, which is one salesperson at a time talking to their customer and fighting over booth locations. So we really, loyalty is important, longevity, all of those things. We really kind of look at a customer and we say, okay, how long have they been in the show? How much are they spending with us? Are they doing sponsorship? All of those things. And then that's how we typically do the sequence of your appointments. I mean, you might elaborate a little bit because I don't get involved in
Yes, that's not going to change. What we do is we assign the largest spaces first, and that's just because of logistics. I mean, you have to put them in, but we start with the largest and the most points and work our way down. And so the more space, of course, you're gonna get a better location. The more times you've been in the show, you're gonna get more, and the more money dollars that you spend. And we just make it as fair as we can that way. And we give first priority to anybody that was exhibiting this year. Will have first priority to pick their booth next year. We won't open it up to anybody that wasn't in this year until the exhibitors this year are in place.
And we have, we've launched, for our company, we launched Salesforce.com, which probably many of you use, which is a great CRM tool, and Susan didn't have that before, so we keep every single client notation, notes, everything in that, and she'll use that information when she goes into the full training process.
Yeah, on a related note, for those of you who do manage floor space, it came up at the meeting earlier that a new website is coming online soon. Yeah, which is going to be cool.
It's hard to see it because she sent me a screenshot of it. I was looking at it earlier. Let me see if I can pull it up for you guys.
I wouldn't say what I do, I would consider managing our site, but I do get the booth for our company every year.
So this, I'm sorry, this is really, you really can't see it, but it's, and I know Susan said January 1st. We hope to actually have the new site launched in the next month. So she just sent me a couple of screenshots that they were working on today. This is the show sponsors page and a Hall of Fame award winner. So we are gonna, I know it's been brought up, I feel like I've talked about it a lot already, but the bricks for the Hall of Fame, Marty and Eric both we've all had extensive conversations about it, and I think it's pretty special, but we really want to give the bricks back to their rightful owners or their families. So what we're going to do is create a virtual Hall of Fame on our new website, so we can memorialize everybody that's won in the past and continue to add the new recipients every year. And then for the Buyers Lounge, sort of our idea at the moment is to have faux bricks, like they do on movie sets, and build the lounge with either a brick wall or something that also memorializes the past and current winners. So that's what we're working on. Carrying those bricks around, I mean, you guys that exhibit understand, drayage and so forth, it's expensive. So we'd like you to have those, and we'll take it on virtually.
Plus they won't have so much gum stuck to them.
Right, exactly.
Well,
say too, there's 25 of the Hall of Fame bricks inside, so you get not all of them because Eric dragged them, you gotta drag them all. Kind of slack.
Yeah, no, they did. It's nice. We took a couple pictures, so I hope Lynn puts it up on the social media.
And the idea is to give them back, because I have had people say, can I have our brick? It's like, yeah, eventually, but one of the thoughts we had is like, if the people here from the New England Fastener Association today, it'd be nice to send to New England the bricks for their area and maybe do a little presentation where those people, if they want to, can get their brick and talk, so it's not going to happen like today, but we're trying to figure out how best to return the bricks to their rightful owners and maybe have a little something in each region, the Midwest can do, people in their area, so just as you see them there, don't grab them and take them.
Great.
That puts us about 4 minutes to rush down to the big room, and let's thank Karalynn, Sprouse, Emerald, Susan Hurley,